Good afternoon, and welcome to TKAAM Thursdays, your midday cultural break. I'm Dr. Lona Reeves, the Education and Community Outreach Director here at the Kansas African American Museum. Today, we are sitting in the Journey Through Kansas gallery at the Kansas African American Museum with a special guest, Dr. Barbara James, and she's going to tell us about a special event that connects us to our From Africa to Kansas room. So, Dr. James, introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Barbara James. I am the founder and the director of the Saving We organization. And coming up this September the 12th, 2021, at 3 p.m. at the Keep of the Plains, we will be having our sixth annual Maafa or Enslaved Ancestors Commemoration. We will be staging at 2:30 in the parking lot north of the Keep of the Plains, which can be accessed from West Central. And the reason we'll be staging in the parking lot is because we will be having a second line New Orleans style march to meet the ancestors. We need everyone there to be in line and ready to go at 3 o'clock. The first liners will be carrying decorated umbrellas, and the second liners will be carrying very dainty hankies as they're marching to meet the ancestors.
And then also, you said that part of this marching to meet the ancestors, that if you can, we want you to wear white because of that. That has special commemoration for meeting the ancestors as well.
Yes, we encourage everybody to wear white. We think it's a great honor to wear white to meet the ancestors, but please, please do not come because you don't have white, because the ancestors just won't be there and they'll be waiting for you there.
Okay, so a little bit more about that. It's called the Maafa Commemoration and Marching to Meet the Ancestors. Did I say it right this time? I'm sure I did not. Say it again.
Well, let me just say this. The march is the march down to the actual event, which is the Maafa commemoration. And Maafa is a Kiswahili word meaning the great occurrence of a terrible disaster, referring to the transatlantic human trafficking of African people.
Okay. And then the eventually end up here in Wichita, Kansas, and we are commemorating that so that we can connect back to where we come from and remember who we are.
Exactly. That's what Saving We is all about. The whole idea is Black folks saving themselves. Other people can attempt to save you, but how they want to save you might not be how you believe that you need to be saved. So therefore, you need to take hold and do that. And it begins with remembering who you are, recognizing and accepting who you are, and that is that we are the original people. And then once you realize that and accept that, then you are not diminished in any way when other people want to call themselves superior, because original trumps any other label other people want to give themselves.
Okay, so and can you explain that a little more? Because I know I can remember there being a time when trying to decide who I was, like, I'm not African American, I'm not African, I'm Black. Or how do we get back to that? Yes, you are Black, you have Africa in you. How do we get back to that? Can you help us with that a little more?
I don't think that we should get all caught up in the terminology. I mean, if you're comfortable calling yourself Black, or if you're comfortable calling yourself African, or if you're comfortable calling yourself African American, all of that's good, because we're all of those things. And we couldn't all be born on the continent of Africa due to that terrible occurrence, the Maafa. So whatever term you choose to use, that's fine, but you just need to remember that we're all connected, and that even though you weren't born on the continent was born in you.
Yes.
And it is in you. And there is power in recognizing our connectedness. And so once we embrace that, then we can feel more powerful in knowing what we are. But as we're talking about terms, I do want to say this. as a caveat, it's maybe my own personal hang up, but I don't like terms like people of color or person of color. Number one, it sounds like a fancy way of saying colored people, which I don't like. But not only that, it throws us in the bag with everybody else. And we are not everybody else. We all have individual experiences. And so we need to weed ourselves out and identify ourselves as the African people that we are, whatever term we want to use in term that identifies us back to Africa. But colored people and people of color or minority, ugh, that one really gets me because we need to
In the
recognize if
world.
you are a minority, the best you can ever be is 49.
Mm-hmm.
And we so much more than 49% of 100.
Mm-hmm.
So language is truly, truly important.
Okay. And can tell us a little bit more about language. You said that Maafa comes from Kiswahili.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I'm not sure I can tell you more about
Kiswahili.
Kiswahili per se, but I can just simply say that in terms of language and imaging,
Mm-hmm.
that is extremely, extremely important because language and imaging can be used to dehumanize you or to uplift you.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, when other people are talking about us as Black people or as African people, they are using language to dehumanize us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for us to diffuse that, we need to begin to be more careful in terms of imaging that we put out or continue to use, or language that we continue to use. And a prime example would be something as simple as no longer referring to our ancestors as slaves.
Exactly.
Because when you become a slave, you are property, you
Mm-hmm.
are chattel. And our ancestors was far more than chattel. They were human beings. They didn't change into property because somebody came and captured them or kidnapped them.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if you just add simple two letters, E-N, and make it enslave, then that puts the humanity back into that,
Mm-hmm.
and they become human again. And then we can begin to give them a voice, which they so sorely
Mm-hmm.
need. And plus, enslave is a status
Not.
rather than
That's
property.
right.
And we need to begin to accept that because so many of us are embarrassed by our ancestors having been enslaved, as if they volunteered to be
They had no
enslaved.
power over that.
Yes, and we don't have any reason to be
Embarrassed or
embarrassed by
ashamed.
somebody else's evil.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, it's not our fault
Mm-hmm.
that somebody wanted to bring us over here and work us and build this country for $0.
Mm-hmm. Right. You make a very good point. And then on the other side of it, they're not former slaves; they're freed men and women
Correct.
as well. And then I know I have a hard time with the using the term master. I call them captors because that's what they were. The African people were kidnapped and brought to this land in captivity, and they were captives and not, um, like you said, they're enslaved captives.
Right.
They were people.
And I even think that calling the enslavers settlers
Mm-hmm.
or we are settler country, that's too kind.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't settlers. I mean, they were far more harsh than settlers,
Mm-hmm.
They were actually raping and killing and
Marauders.
pillaging,
Mm-hmm.
So no, those
Mm-hmm.
aren't settlers.
Right.
And
Who may have some questions and want to know more about it, or maybe even help you if you already got your umbrellas all decorated and ready to go.
no,
Need some help with
we're
that?
always open to people.
Okay, so how can they get in touch with you?
316 640 or my email address is atttyjames@aol.com.
But that back to the point of the event that we have coming up. You said that you have been to other events around the world, and so well, tell us about the first time you went to a Maafa event.
I think the first my AFA, if my memory serves me correctly, was in Charleston, South Carolina. Queen Quet, the enthroned queen for the Gullah Geechee people, had a sort of a Maafa commemoration where we actually took a ferry out approaching the Atlantic rather than coming through the Atlantic as our enslaved ancestors
Mm-hmm.
had to do. And it was just so powerful to be able to voluntarily take a path back to a path that our ancestors was forced to take, and then to have Queen Quet do this powerful libation and have all of the fruit
Mm-hmm.
and veggies that we were offering, and to be able to tell the ancestors, you've been the givers, but today be the takers. Let us give you this.
So then, if people who participate on the 12th want to bring a gift for the ancestors, they would bring vegetables, fruit,
Flour.
flowers,
You could even bring coins.
coins.
Just imagine, if you will, for a moment, that you've been in this horrible ship
Mm-hmm.
and now you're on shore. What do you need? Do you need a drink of water? Do you need some food? Are you going to need some money? So you're just symbolically thinking of what would a person who's been hemmed up in this horrible ship for a couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
or a month, or however long they were there,
Mm-hmm.
what would you need if you were starting out? And so you want to comfort them and, give them their first drink of water or their first bite of food that's fresh and
Mm-hmm.
not rotten or whatever. So you're symbolically giving them that. And by offering this gift, we're going to place them in the river with the idea of hoping that all rivers do eventually make it to the ocean. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in making it to the ocean, they say the Atlantic is the biggest graveyard in the world. And so, the ancestors will be able to symbolically get that fruit or that money or that water
The
or
returns to the
whatever.
ancestors. Okay, awesome. And so, why have an event here in Wichita, Kansas?
Well, if you knew me, you would understand. I think it's just terrible that for us to partake of a lot of the cultural events that the rest of the world is enjoying, you got to get on a plane
Mm-hmm.
and go to DC or Houston or wherever. When we're here, we
Mm-hmm.
can do it. And so, therefore, let's have one here. I mean, the ancestors need us here as well as they do in DC. So that's how the whole idea of having the Maafa commemoration came about, because I was tired of having to travel to
Mm-hmm.
other places to do what we could do here.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit more about how you do that. How do you have the event? I know you said that the folks that should arrive at 2:30 over by the Keeper of the Flame to stage for the Louisiana style march to meet the ancestors. So what happens from the staging on?
Well, like I said, we'll do many of you have seen the second line, so I won't go through that.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get down to the actual area where the keeper of the plane actually is, then it will be kind of a programmed, but not really formal. It's
Mm-hmm.
free
A
flowing,
loose program.
where various people will provide talent gifts to the ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
whether it will be African dance, because we do try to get some of the African community to come in and participate. So it might be African dance, it might be singing, poetry, just various speaking for that matter. One of the things that we're going to have this year is, since Juneteenth was formalized as a national holiday for the
Mm-hmm.
United States, and Wichita has its first Miss Juneteenth, Jaden Earl. She will be like our featured speaker this year. I thought it would be great that, number one, she's a young person, and
Mm-hmm.
to have her involved, but just for her to tie in Juneteenth and the ancestors and enslavement and how all that works together. So it's just the various kinds of talents that people have that they want to offer to the ancestors.
Okay. Now we know too that it's like you said, Africans are everywhere, and that they weren't just first people or original people on the continent of Africa, but they were also original people in other spaces as well. And that's something that we need to realize, because we don't always we definitely don't learn that in school. We were just studying one of the masks that we have here in the museum and realized that the Twa people were the original people in Ireland. But that's not the only place. Remember that before Columbus could even come here, he had to go to Africa to get the map that he didn't follow very well. But he had to go to Africa to get a map. And so, of course, the Africans were here first.
Mhm.
You have other stories like that that you can share with
Yeah,
our?
I mean, the whole idea is once I learned about the African present in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at Buddhas the same way anymore. I kind of look at their little heads and the
Mm-hmm.
little, the little curls or knots
Right.
or whatever you want to call them, and I see that blackness there, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or either you talk about Mexico and
Central
the
America, the
yeah, and I
Olmec
was
mask,
thinking of I
Olmec
can't think of it called the
sculptures.
Olmecs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you turn their head around. Those are cornrows with cowrie
They're
shells.
calling
you
helmets.
know, you know, and so that's why you need to know yourself, because there's wisdom in that expression that if you don't know where you're going, any way will do, or whatever. If you don't know yourself, you'll fall for anything. Well, the point is you won't fall for anything once you know yourself, because you have armor
Mm-hmm.
um, against all of that negativity that other people want you to believe. Because basically, they're sitting there trying to think of the opportunity of the time that they can grab it and
Mm-hmm.
package it, and then call it their own and try to sell it to you
Right.
when it's been you all along.
Right.
Again, we are the original people. So there's not much that's out here that other people are doing that we haven't already done. We just have lost memory that we need to
Reclaim.
remember.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Remember. Yes. I know one of the guiding forces for me through grad school was know yourself, and the secret of the universe is yours. That's the African saying from Kemet, from Egypt. And it's like you said, know yourself. That's where it comes from. You got to know yourself. You were explaining too how you mentioned how sometimes we don't understand some of the things that we do and how they really come from where we come from. And we don't know that until we start to connect and understand that. Look, you see that you mentioned how people came at two different times and from two different places, but really the same place, and did the same thing, and never having met each other, but because it comes from who they are as a people, that they were just
Hmm.
being who they are.
Hmm. I mean, and that's the beauty of it. Instead of having this mindset, I didn't lose anything in Africa.
Hmm.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You lost yourself. You left yourself there, and you need to go find it.
Hmm.
So yes, you did. You have a connectedness with Africa, and that's why people want you disconnected, because they realize the power in that. I don't remember the memorandum number now, but Brzezinski, I can't think of his title now, under the Carter administration, but in this memo, he writes and advises that the worst thing that can happen is for Black folks to get together. See, even everybody else know that it's power in
Hmm.
us, everybody but us, you know, but I'm not beating up on us. It's not our fault. I
Hmm.
mean, we didn't just wake up one morning and say that. People have been working on us for centuries to get us to this kind of thinking. And that's why also in having something like the Maafa commemoration, it's a time not only to honor and remember the ancestors and call out their name and to
Hmm.
give them their just honor, but it's our time to sit back and begin to do our own healing, because it's continuing today. We are still suffering the after effects of enslavement.
Mm-hmm.
contrary to what you might think. You might think you're healing pretty well mentally or that you are, but no, we've never formally taken out time to really sit down and mourn the ancestors and then think about what that has meant for us in our lives. And we're carrying it on generationally.
So this event also offers an opportunity to reflect, remember, and again know who we are as well as to heal.
Correct.
Okay. And so what are some of the other aspects that you would like to share? I think you said something about that since it is over at the Keeper of the Flame, there will be a blessing of the land.
Yes, a Native American individual will come since, Wichita and Kansas and all
Mm-hmm.
that's, Native American. And we are in that whole space of behind the Indian Center and the Keeper of the Plains. And so felt it would be very important to bring one of the original people or descendants of,
Mm-hmm. Of the
Wichita and the
land.
whole,
Mm-hmm.
Kansas thing to come in and bless the land and what we were doing.
Okay. So one more time, that's going to happen when?
September the 12th, 2021, 3 o'clock at the Keeper of the Plains, which is located behind the Indian Center. And we will be staging in the parking lot north of the Keeper of the Plains, which can be accessed from West Central Avenue at 2:30.
Okay. And remember, if you can, wear white and bring your decorated handkerchief to participate in the parade, which we want them to show up by 2:30 to
Correct.
get that off. All right. All
Right.
right. Okay.
But don't worry about it. Don't
Okay.
worry about anything other than
If you
bringing
don't have,
yourself.
yeah, the most important thing to do is have yourself there. If you can't wear white and you don't have a handkerchief, not a problem.
Oh, and it is free and
Yes.
family friendly.
Free and family friendly. We all love that. Is there anything else that you'd like to include?
No, just their seat is reserved and the ancestors are waiting.
All righty. And
Can you
remember,
hear
you can
them?
bring those vegetable, fruit, or flowers or coin for offerings to the ancestors as
If
well.
you want.
If you
But don't
want.
worry about
But
it.
you don't
Don't
have
worry about
to.
anything other than just
Come.
coming and connecting with the ancestors and everybody else.
Come, connect, and heal.
Correct.
All right. So thank you, Dr. James, for coming and sitting down with us
Thank
today.
you for inviting me.
And thank you for tuning in to TKAAM Thursdays, your midday cultural break.